So our Venn diagram, so we can answer the two questions. Since we're talking about two different sets, we're going to have two circles to represent each set. The first set, the number of women, and then our second circle, the number that agreed. We're calling this Venn diagram U, our universal set. So we have here 4 parts. We have our first part, we're representing the first circle, the number of women. The second circle, we're going to call that part 2, the number of women that agreed with the survey. And then our second circle here, we're going to answer that question to that. This is the number of people that agreed, adults that agreed with the statement. And then part 4, this would represent, that's the universal set, those that did not agree at all. So going back to page 17, where we listed the information about the total number of people being surveyed, half of them being women. Well, the rule says we're going to start in the innermost circle first. So how many agreed? Women agreed. We have, and it's stated that 700 women agreed with the statement. All right, so let's work within circle 1, our element 1, our set W for women. If 700 women agree, how many women were surveyed total? Because we want this circle to represent 1,000, so in the first part we have 300. Now, let's look at the second circle, part 3. We know that 700 agreed, but we know that in the statement, the survey showed that 1,190 people agreed with the statement. So how many would be included to finish off this particular circle, part 3? So we would subtract 700 from 1,190, and we have 490. So when we add 300, 700, and 490, that doesn't add up to being 2,000, the number of people being surveyed. So how many people in this survey would disagree? That will be on the outside of the circle. This will be inside the universal set, meaning not. So that's 510. So this is our diagram. So the question here says, how many men agreed with the statement? So we're going to look at part 3, because if 700 women agreed with the statement, therefore 490 men agreed with the statement. That was in our part 3 of our circle here. Letter B, how many men, this word is men, not mean, men disagreed with the statement? 510. Example 3. A survey of 250 memorabilia collectors showed the following results. 108 collected baseball cards, 92 collected comic books, 62 collected stamps, 29 collected baseball cards and books, 5 collected baseball cards and stamps, 2 collected comic books and stamps, 2 collected all 3 types of memorabilia. Use a Venn diagram to illustrate the survey's results. So we're going to first identify. Let's go back to page 17 where it says how to solve a survey problem. We want to first define the sets and then draw our Venn diagram. So our sets we're going to define. We're going to call set B, since we're talking about 3 different types of sets here. 3, not 2, 3. The first set, we have baseball cards. We're going to call set B baseball cards. We're going to call set C comic books. And we're going to call set S stamps. Our universal set, how many people were surveyed? We have 250 in this universal set. So we're going to draw our box. And write our U for universal set. Now this time it's not 3 circles that we're going to draw. It's going to be, it's not 2, it will be 3. So our first circle we'll call B for baseball cards. We know that it's going to intersect. We're going to call the second one C for comic books. And then our third one, we'll call that S for stamps. Now we're going to work inward and out. We have all the information that we need here to fill in everything that's needed. So when I say work inward out, where does all 3 elements, the circles, intersect? All 3, because this is where we want to start here. And this is where all 3, I'm going to highlight this sum. This is what we want to fill in. This is where all 3 intersect. Now, if we go to the very last part of this information in the problem where it says 2 collected all 3 types of memorabilia. This is where all 3 intersect the circle. So we know 2. We're going to put the number 2 there. Then it says, let's move to the left here, 2 collected comic books and stamps. So we remember we're letting C represent comic books and S represent stamps. So if 2, and if we're just looking at those circles of C, element C and S, if 2 collected comic books and stamps, and we've already represented that 2 collected all 3 types, we're going to put 0 here because this is representing all 3, and 2 out of the 3 is being, when I say it's being, the comic book and stamps are being represented. So we're going to put 0 there. But it does, if you notice, if all 3 intersect, then the comic book and the stamps, those circles are intersecting as well. Let's move on. 5 collected baseball cards and stamps. So if at least 2 collected all 3, then the baseball and stamps, we want this area, I'm going to put a little check here. We want this area to represent baseball cards and stamps. We know it collected 5, and we already have 2. Then what will go here? That will be my question to you. 3. Now moving along, working backwards here. 29 collected baseball cards and comic strips. comic books, 29. Okay, so what intersects with the baseball cards and comic books? We know at least 2. And we have a total of, and it says here, where it intersects for the baseball cards and comic books is 29. So if 2 is already there, well, I'm going to put a check here so you can see where we're going to be filling in. Okay? If 2 books are already there, or is being this collector is collecting this, how many do we have left that's going to intersect? 27. Now, let's move along. 62 collected stamps. So we're going to fill in the circles of stamps. So far, that third circle with stamps, we have 3, and we have 2, and we have 0. That's there. So 3 plus 2 plus 0 is 5. And we're looking for, we want this circle to represent 62 stamps. What will we have to put here? 57. 62 minus 5 is 57. Moving along, 92 collected comic books. Look at the circle of comic books. So what is already represented? 27 and 2. So 27 and 2 is 30. And we have 0. Okay, 27, 2, and 0. Excuse me, I said 30. 27 plus 2 is 29. And subtract 29 from 92, we have 63. And then last, 108 collected baseball cards. Okay, and look at the first circle, B. We have 27, we have 2, we have 3. Add those together. What will be the remaining? So this circle can total, or would total to 108. 76. So when we add all of these together, this gives us, when we add 76, 27, 63, 3, 2, 0, and 57, that total is, and you can find that out quickly, that's 228. But it says the total number in this survey was 250. So what will be outside of the elements that we see in our circles here? How many? 22. All right, so we have all of the information that we need to answer letters A through F. Example A, how many of those surveyed collected, part A, comic books? And we're going to write the cardinality of this. We have the cardinality of set C, comic books, but neither collected, but neither baseball cards nor stamps. Let me read this over again. How many of those surveyed collected comic books, but neither baseball cards nor stamps? So this is how we would write out this statement using our sets. Collected comic books, but neither baseball cards nor stamps. So you can look at your Venn diagram and notice that 63 people collected comic books only. Letter B, how many of those surveyed collected baseball cards and stamps, but not comic books? We have 3. Baseball cards and stamps, but not comic books. Letter C, how many of those surveyed collected baseball cards or stamps? But not comic books. Who collected baseball cards and stamps? Excuse me, baseball cards or stamps, I'm sorry. All right, baseball cards or stamps. So we have here 76 plus 3, but not comic books. We have plus 57. Add those together, we have 136. How many of those surveyed collected exactly 2 types of memorabilia? At least 2 types. Where does it intersect? All 3 intersect, at least 2. So baseball cards and comic books together, that's 27. And then who collected? It says exactly 2 types, excuse me. So also we have the baseball cards and stamps. That was 3 people. Add that together, we have 30. Part E, how many of those surveyed collected at least 1 type of memorabilia? Well, we're going to add all of those types that collected at least 1 type. So altogether is 228. And then letter F, how many of those surveyed collected none of the types of memorabilia? 22.